Hi everyone. Today is May 24th. It is Thursday. We're in the early morning here Pacific time, and I'm with Mahala, and we're going to talk about a couple things that are happening with the planets today.
Okay, well, today is May 21st, 2018.
24th, right?
Oh, correct that. And May 24th, 2018. And there's a lot going on in the world. And so we started out with, well, like today on May 24th in the Mayan calendar, it opens up 10 days that are kind of called vortex days. And that's when, like in Halloween, when the veil is thinner and it's easier to connect with spirit. That's kind of like what these 10 vortex days are in the Mayan calendar. And so that starts today. And so from May 21st, 4th, that's the first day, and it goes on through for 10 more days. But mainly what I wanted to talk about was like the Hawaiian volcano, because that is on, in the world map, it's on where the volcano that erupted, it was on 19.4 degrees Aries. And so that is a point on our planet that is a very powerful point. And in tetrahedron geometry, that point connects with all of the other planets. All of the other planets have a power point on 19.5 degrees. And so the first part of May, when the volcano started erupting, and you can see how powerful it was. I mean, that's the energy that we've been experiencing. And this opens a doorway into, actually a doorway to international energy because of it being connected to all of the other planets.
So that would be intergalactical
energy. Yes, it would. Yes. And so that's where we are right now in the energy part of it. And the volcano is still erupting. And so that will continue, I think, for a while. And also other volcanoes will start erupting too, because Uranus is now in Taurus, which is an Earth sign, and there's a couple planets that are like Capricorn, which is an Earth sign. And so all of this will be activated, and then energy will change from Uranus being in Aries for the last 7 years, which was a fire sign. And so we move from fire to earth and water. And I think that we'll see a big change in that. Because, like, well, this summer, there'll be, instead of like so many fires, I think it'll be focused on earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. And maybe like the water energy will come in too. And so basically we're moving from fire to earth and water. And so that will be interesting to see how that manifests. And of course, Uranus is on my world map. It's in the sign of Taurus, which is right over the west coast. And it hasn't gotten quite to the coast yet. It needs to move closer or farther in the sign Taurus to affect the west coast. And like when Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980, Uranus was in Scorpio at that time, but when the sun was in Taurus, the exact day it erupted, it was exactly opposing Uranus. And so that's an example of the energy that will be coming up here. And then, of course, the Scorpio part is the Middle East, and they're always in turmoil for one reason or another.
So with Uranus coming up against the West Coast, so how many degrees, what degree do you think the Oregon, Washington, Northern California would be at?
26 degrees longitude. 26.
Okay, so it's going to take a while before it comes in.
Yes. It'll be towards the later part of the 7-year cycle.
Okay, so then it could be that what we've seen in the past has been earthquake activity, earth expansion activity that's happening off the coast.
Yes, and we could still see it off the coast. Okay. Like right now, we could see it off.
Which would be earth changes just in the Pacific off the coast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I'm not saying, I mean, we could still have earthquakes here, along the coast and stuff like that, if the other planets are doing something. And right now, Mars is in Aquarius. Aquarius is a very rebellious sign. It's ruled by Uranus. And that will be there. Normally, Mars, it takes them 6 weeks to 2 months to go through one sign. But right now, Mars is in a retrograde phase. And so it'll be in that sign until November 16th, I think it is. And as Mars goes over that area, it'll be over North and South Korea, Japan, and if the planet's on a lower declination, then it will bring in Australia. And so, like today, President Trump announced that he was canceling the peace meeting or the peace talks with North Korea. And so that's a manifestation of that energy. And when Mars first moved into Aquarius, that was last Friday. And that was the day where they had the shooting, school shooting down in Texas. And that was exactly square by degree.
Okay.
It was on, Mars was 0 Aquarius and Uranus was 0 Taurus. And that activates, that's a violent energy. But now Mars is starting to move away from Uranus. And so as time goes on, we should see it get a little quieter, because I think that we'll start feeling peace on the world probably before the end of the year, I would think.
Which is when Mars moves off the coast of Japan.
Yes.
So right now, so it says it's just moved into the house. Do you put it closer towards the Koreas versus, and so as it goes through these 6 months, it's going to go back and forth over Japan, or we're retrograde right now?
Well, it's not quite retrograde yet.
Okay.
It'll go forward for a while, and then I didn't check to see what date it actually turns retrograde, and then it will be going back and forth for 6 months.
So would this have any effect? So we know that Japan is earthquake prone.
Yes, I think that there would definitely be earth changes there.
Okay. Hopefully it won't be angry energy from Mars.
Right, yeah. Well, it'd be kind of more rebellious of energy.
Okay.
You know, like the chaos that's going on in the world.
Okay.
It'll probably be more chaos like that. And because Mars and Uranus, because the sign Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. And so that brings an interaction between Mars and Uranus for a while. And so there'll still be chaos for a while, unless we can all focus on peace and get some peaceful energy in there. And so because you can live on one dimension, and in the other dimension, lower dimension, doesn't even have to affect you. It's like looking at the radio. You know, you change the station, you listen to one station, you don't like it, you change to another station.
I like that analogy. Let's just turn it from the fear-based channel to the conscious channel.
Yes, right. And I've noticed a big difference since the volcano erupted in Hawaii. And that was more, well, that was a big explosion, you know. That really stirred things up, and it opened up that whole area. And so I think it opened it up to a higher frequency, because I felt a whole lot better since that happened than I did before. And so it's like it stirred up the energy to bring it into a more peaceful energy, if that makes sense.
Yep. Or it can, I would say, it as relieving the pressures.
Yes.
So that it's not as on edge about things.
Yes. Yeah. And then, of course, at the same time, we have Uranus in Taurus, Jupiter's in Scorpio. And so the Middle East will be feeling a lot of that Scorpio energy, which is very intense and very combination of Taurus and Scorpio together. You know, like the Taurus rules the earth, it rules money, it rules love relationships, and Scorpio is the deep, dark secrets, and they'll be coming out more and more, and this will be like all over the world. But Jupiter is totally focused on the Middle East. And so we can look for different events happening in the Middle East, and that area's always been stirred up for a long time. And when you have a planet over it, it increases the energy.
Okay, so when you showed me this on the map, it was looking like it was really centered over Saudi Arabia into Iran, so all the way up to around the Black Sea.
Yes.
And so, any other areas with that? Because it would kind of.
Oh, yeah, it includes the whole area. The whole Middle East, like it goes from like Israel and Egypt on up to Iraq, part of Iraq, and Iran and Turkey, and that whole area. Saudi Arabia too is in it.
Okay, so it would
So,
seem that it would also be the very eastern point of Africa
yes,
and all the way up into
not
Russia.
much, not much in Africa, but part of it, you know.
Okay.
And I've also heard how Africa has a big crack in it, you know, and so Africa is starting
Well, yeah, more Earth changes.
to split.
Yep.
Yes, and so
And
yes,
if that's on this area, that would be on the edge of this area.
yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes, and so and then if you go into Leo, that's more in the ocean, and then if you go down across
The
part of
ocean. Which ocean?
Africa, the Atlantic
Okay.
Ocean.
Okay.
And if you go down, you know, where that down to Africa, I think that that's the Atlantic Ridge
Mm-hmm.
is really acting up. And I think that, well, there's actually land in Africa that has split. And so it's, you know, like the splitting is like main earth changes. And so we've been in that cycle of earth changes
Okay.
for a long time.
Okay.
And then we have Saturn and Pluto are in Capricorn, which activates, you know, the earth energy. And so Capricorns, the main thing with the Capricorns is government, you know, challenges. And so we've been in that for quite a while now. And Saturn stays in Capricorn for another couple of years. And Pluto will be in Capricorn for, I think it moves out in 2023. So there's still a time period with the Pluto. And Pluto is a planet of transformation. And so our government started transforming when Pluto was exactly over Washington, D.C. in the Capricorn decanate. And it continues on in that process now, along with other governments in the world going through their transformation too. And so, Scorpio also rules Russia. Moscow is 8 degrees Scorpio.
Okay.
And so that, of course, brings Putin into the drama that's going on right now in the United States. And so, and Jupiter is a really powerful planet. And according to my chart here, Jupiter is on, 16 degrees, just a couple of minutes away from 16 degrees. And so 16 is a tower struck with lightning.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. And we also have,
tarot cards.
at this full moon coming up on May 29th, we have Neptune on 16 degrees Pisces. And Pisces is right over there, you know, like where Japan and that, and then you go off the coast, and then that will be the Pisces area all over the water.
Okay.
And of course, Pisces rules oceans. And so that is making a nice trine to Jupiter here. And so the Neptune energy will probably activate the Scorpio energy, which is bringing up stuff from the deep, dark past and bringing it out into the open. And so that process will continue. And there might be some really, really big things that happen with that. And Neptune is the feminine goddess. It's a higher octave of Venus.
Okay.
And Neptune is like the spiritual planet, but it's also on the negative side. It can be very deceptive type of things. And so being on the 16 degrees, I think that is going to bring up some real things that have been hidden during this time period after this full moon or coming up to this full moon.
Okay, so when is the full moon?
It's on 29th.
20th, it's the end of June. End of May.
Yes, end of May.
Okay, so a few days away.
Uh-huh. And then the sun is on 8 degrees Gemini. So the sun is in Gemini and the moon is in Sagittarius. And so the Sagittarius area will bring up, that's, the Sagittarius rules judges and courts and all that kind of stuff. And so we'll probably see a lot of the judging and the court things come up in regard to government and in personal life too, maybe.
Okay, put that, and that's full moon.
Yes, this is a full moon, and the full moon lasts, it starts building, you know, like we're starting to build up to the full moon right now, which is the 24th, because there's always several days before the full moon that where the energy starts building, and then after the full moon too. And so it's not just a one-day thing. And the node is on 9 degrees Leo, and this is on the degree of breathing. Okay, so this is, I mean, I thought that was a little unusual. So if you want to, if you get really stressed out, I mean, if you just sit down for like 15 minutes and just breathe in and out, deep breathing, however you want to do it for 15 minutes, and it will change your energy and bring you into a more peaceful state.
Good.
And I know that a lot of people are very stressed out because of what's going on in the world. And the 8th degree Sagittarius rules, it goes into within the depths of the world. And it rules, I'm trying to read my writing here. It's the alchemical fire, which purifies and transforms.
Okay.
And so that sounds good to me, because we have been going through the fire energy of transformation for quite a while. And there's different, like in the book, The Path of the Soul, it talks about 4 different initiations that we go through. And there's the water, fire, air, and earth. And so we've been going through the fires, and that's why there were so many fires for the last 7 years when Uranus was in Aries, so get all your stuff out, get it transformed, being transformed by the fire.
Yeah.
And so the earth initiation, according to the book Path of the Soul, is when we start using the tools that we have learned.
Okay.
And we start creating what we choose to experience. And I've always said, well, astrology rules the 3rd and 4th dimension because it's God's law in action. But once we get up to 5D and start manifesting the energy of 5D and above, then we can be free because we're free from the karma. The fire burns out all the dross inside you. And I mean, so many people have been releasing all of their stuff that's been within them for such a long period of time. And so once that comes up, then we can start using our mind. And so we are just right at that starting point of being able to create what we choose to experience. And I've heard, a lot of people say, well, I haven't had any free will, and I haven't been able to create what I wanted to create. And that's because of being caught into the cycle of having to release stuff. And so when they were creating from their subconscious mind. Now we can start creating from our conscious mind.
Good.
And then these the Mayan calendar, like today, opening up the energy doorway for being able to connect up with a higher frequency, and so and that should bring in a lot of spiritual energy that we can tune into for the next 10 days. And so if you focus on these next 10 days on creating peace in our life instead of trauma and chaos, then if we get enough people, because there's such a thing as mass consciousness, and when the mass consciousness goes up into another frequency, then everyone tuning into that consciousness has the ability to create better or higher manifestation things.
Well, this sounds like a great time to go out and work in the garden,
Yes.
plant some seeds,
Yes.
Turn off the TV, don't worry about the news.
Right, yes.
Breathe.
Yes. Yeah, because, like if you're watching, the news on the computer or on the TV or whatever, and you get pulled into that energy because it's right there in front of you. And it's such a powerful controlling source. If people had any idea how much a computer controls you, I think that they probably wouldn't watch it so much.
Yeah.
It controls on all levels. And so then, you come out and when I'm upstairs and looking out my big windows and I can see all the trees and all the flowers and everything, and it's just like I'm in my own energy, without anything to distract it. And that's when you can meditate and go into the peaceful vibration.
Yes, it's like thinking about the animals. The animals get up every day and they go out and they forage every day, and they don't have to worry about what's happening on the other side of the world. It's just not part of their experience.
Yes.
If we can tune that out for just a little while, then we get to create that calming experience, because it'll create an environment around us that helps us influence people in a positive way.
Yes, that's right. Yes. And then on July 11th of 1991, that was a major change. There's different cycles going on at the same time. And people say, everyone says, oh, we're in age Aquarius, which we are. And Aquarius is high tech, and you can tell that from the last 100 years how everything has gone into high tech, and it's major high tech, and all the artificial intelligence and the phones and every kind of thing that there is on that, and that's ruled by the age of Aquarius. Okay, but at the same time, there's another cycle going on that I've talked about in my article, but I like to talk about it here too, because that was there was a total solar eclipse over Mexico on July 11th, 1991, and that was when Regulus, the royal star of the lion, moved into the sign of Virgo. And this activated the cycle of Virgo, and that will take 2,000, let's say, was it a little over 2,000 years will be in the cycle of Virgo, so we'll be in a double cycle going on at the same time. And that brought in the goddess energy, because Virgo is the goddess in the signs of the zodiac. And so on this year, on July 12th of this year, we have another eclipse. And I haven't really looked at, I should have been, of this July 12th eclipse coming up. And so I think that that's kind of like the turning point, where you have one on like, what was that, several years ago. And then you have another one, and then that kind of activates that point. And so I think that this coming eclipse on July 12th, 2018 will be really important.
So do you have any idea what's going to cover? It's going to be a partial
No, I
eclipse,
haven't
right?
looked at it yet.
Okay. Well, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. Next video, I guess. Yep. Yeah. But anyways, because we went into this age of Virgo, there's been a transition period. And I have this book that was written by a Mayan elder who was given information that the other Mayans hadn't been given. And he talked about how the cycle changed on July 11th, 2012. And there's an integration period from that time. No, in 1991, excuse me. And an integration period until 2021. And that's when we'll be through the integration period. And then Virgo will come in really strong. And that is, the health issues will probably disappear, because the technology of Uranus will probably bring in, lots of healing things. And so we will be manifesting health instead of being sick. And so that's coming up shortly. And I read just the other day that they're starting to use stem cells on their teeth. And I thought, wow, this is great. Instead of getting a root canal, you can go in and get stem cells put in, and they'll heal it.
That's kind of cool. So on that same topic, I remember coming across, so for the longest time, people have thought about their teeth being dead.
Yes.
And finally starting to see videos pop up online where they're teaching you about the teeth being alive.
Yes.
It's like, it's part of us. We're all alive.
Yes.
Which is kind of cool. And there's another thing to go along with that, the healing energies coming forward. One of the things that I've been following for a long time is the Cliff High reports. And lately, I guess it would be about a year ago, he was talking about healing devices that come along.
Yes.
That people will create frequency devices or light devices or something like this.
Yeah.
That what we want to look out for is we want to look out for when the current medical establishment starts to put out bad articles about these things. Because what they'll do is they're going to work.
Yes.
Okay, they're going to work great. And the medical associations, since they're making billions of dollars at keeping people sick, are going to start channeling that energy into making these devices look bad. And the devices, the way the devices are going to get strength or get adoption is going to be by going through the cryptocurrency avenue. Yes. So they'll raise money in that space, and they'll sell it for coins. And so if anybody out there wants to get involved in that stuff, keep your eye open for it. Look for those devices. See if they're going to go through the cryptocurrency process, and then let us know. Anyway.
Right, yeah. And that's another manifestation of the 7-year transit of Uranus through Taurus, which builds money and a new form of money.
Yes.
And but along with this Virgo sign, that is Okay, let me get my thoughts back here. Okay, Virgo. Oh, and at that time, that was like the number 13 came into power. You know, because the Mayan calendar is based on number 13, and that's a goddess number, and that's a number of, well, not quite love, but it's a number of the goddess energy is love energy, and so that's how that works. And so with this 13th sign, there's also like the 13th sign of the zodiac, which is called, like, a lot of people know it by the Ophiuchus, if I'm pronouncing it right. I know it by Asclepius because that's another name for it, because I'm very familiar with the Asclepius energy. And so the Asclepius energy, the 13th sign, and I think that this is what people need to, or astrologers too, need to start incorporating in a chart, at least as long as astrology works until we get in the high, really high frequency. Then the 13th sign needs to go in there too. And the 13th sign is like if you have a wheel and you have a cog in the middle that runs it, that's what like the sign of Asclepius is. And that's in effect from November 30th to December 16th. And if you were born during that time, instead of being a Sagittarius, you're technically an Asclepian. And so that's when a solar wind, that's the only sign that has a solar wind that comes to the earth from a zodiac sign. And that was that also had a lot to do. I'm bringing this up because it had a lot to do with the healing, because Asclepius was well known for the healing temples in Greece, and Asclepius was a daughter of the sun god Apollo. And they used to have healing temples where people would come from all over, and they'd stay in the healing temples, and they would the people there, the healers there, would heal them. And so that was a very important point right now. And so now that actually NASA knows that there's a 13 sign, so once NASA knows it, it's official. And they're the one that put out the article that I read several years ago about the solar wind that comes from that sign. And so along with the Virgo, it makes a nice sextile to Asclepius. And so the two of them will work together in the healing field. And then like the Hopis, the Hopi prophecies, they look like for the grandmother, and the grandmother, or the spider, is called the spider woman, and the spider woman weaves its web all through the zodiac, and so that's what Asclepius does. It weaves its web all around through all of the different signs, so it's actually the head of the cog. And I think that's why we should start recognizing the sign of Asclepius, or the astrologers should.
So that brings up images of the wheel in the tarot cards.
Yes.
As being weaving.
Yes.
As being the cog in the wheel, as being destiny and fate. Seems interesting there.
Yes, I think that is very interesting. And then I started to say before, like when Mars is going through this 6-month journey through Aquarius, that could be the time period, which is starting right now, of the high-tech healing, different kind of machines and stuff coming out. So watch for that.
Yeah. So we were talking about that a second ago. I was thinking that the Cliff High reports were saying that it would probably come out in late 2018, early 2019, which would put it towards that November, December timeframe.
Yes.
Of energy coming through, bringing awareness to people, and then it getting some type of traction thereafter.
Yes. Yeah. So we do live in very interesting times, and I think I'm about ready to wind this up for now.
Okay.
And so, you have any questions or anything that we could finish it with?
No, I'm okay. Yeah. I think it's great. I appreciate everybody watching. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, okay. Bye till next time.